Epiphone versus Gibson, Gibson versus Epiphone. What's the difference? There's a bunch of differences. There's a bunch of videos about these differences, and I'm gonna tell you a bunch of things which aren't on those videos. Let's a brief little history about Epiphone. They've been around since 1873. If it wasn't for Les Paul in 1957 telling Gibson to buy them out because they're going through hard times, there would be no Epiphone today. Les Paul liked them so much he told them to keep the name running, so they did. Ever since then, they've been known of making a Gibson copy guitar that was a cheaper alternative to Gibson. They still did make their own guitars, one of which is the Wilshire, which came out in '59 with P90 pickups. Jimi Hendrix picked up one of them and he played and recorded with it. Now, I'm going to tell you about the Gibson copy Epiphones that are going to be vastly different from Gibson. Why do I say they're vastly different? Well, they have laminated bodies, bolt-on necks, and ceramic humbucker pickups. These are the Les Paul Studio 100s, LP100 Studios. The Special 2s, there's a bunch of different models of the Special 2s, Deluxe, Goth. There's exceptions to the Special 2s, though. There is a GT model in where you get a mahogany body and a kill switch. Now there's a Special 2 Plus top where you get a basswood body. Now let's talk about all the plus tops or a flame maple top that you would get from Epiphone compared to Gibson. Any Epiphone guitar with the top is going to have a laminated piece of wood on top of their body with a veneer on top of that laminate, where Gibson is going to use just a nice piece of wood. So there's the Gibson Juniors. Sorry, the Epiphone Les Paul Juniors. Now the Juniors, they come either humbucker or the P90s. Laminated bodies, bolt-on necks. Now, I said the humbuckers are ceramic. Apparently, from what I heard, Epiphone has never made a ceramic P90, so if that's true, all P90s from Epiphone are on the go. There's exceptions to the junior bodies, and there's the double cut junior, where you have a solid mahogany body, still a bolt-on neck, and stamped tuners. And there's the 57 reissue, where it's more like a Gibson, where you get a solid mahogany body and a set mahogany neck. So let's talk about the SGs now. Before 2011, SG Specials were laminated bodies. After 2011, your SG Specials are a solid mahogany body with a bolt-on neck. And these have keel pots as well. There is a SG Special Limited where you have an alder body and you get 14:1 stamped tuners. There is the G310s SGs. Now, before 2014, you had options and colors and what you can get from the 310s. After 2014, they only come black. These are an alder body with a bolt-on mahogany neck. Unless you get a there's advertisement type 310s where it's alcohol or a sports team or something like that. Anyway, then there is the double neck SGs from Epiphone. If you find they only made them for a little while, but if you find them, you may not know what you're going to get. It's either is a solid alder body or a mahogany body that's laminated with a veneer on top of that. And then you get into the G400 fadeds and 400s, and these are more like a Gibson guitar where you have a solid body and a set neck. along with the Les Pauls, the Studios, the Standards, the Customs, the Classics, Deluxe, Traditional Pro, and the Ultra, which is Ultra. And these guitars are going to come with all-Nicole pickups. So now we are getting into what makes the difference between the Epiphone and a Gibson. So let's get into it. The base model Gibsons are going to still give you a plastic nut, a synthetic bone nut. You have to pay more for a bone nut in the Gibsons. Same thing with the inlays. You only get pearloid inlays and colored inlays for the base model Gibsons. You have to pay more for abalone or mother of pearl. So let's talk about how the guitar is made. They have set necks, but Epiphone, the way they set their neck, they use a two-part epoxy, as where Gibson is going to use a true horsehide glue to set their necks. The wood that Gibson get is going to be book-matched wood that's dried naturally in a controlled environment over a long period of time. As to where Epiphone is going to take their wood and throw it into a kiln to dry it nice and quickly. The wood that Epiphone calls mahogany isn't mahogany. It's a cousin of mahogany. Once you start asking, well, what is it? It is a species that is grown throughout Southeast Asia through Indonesia and the Philippines. So it has a number of different names depending on where you're coming from. And this cousin isn't even a cousin. It's not in the same family as mahogany. So why do they get away with calling it mahogany? It pretty much shares everything else with mahogany. The moisture content in the wood, how heavy the wood is, the thickness, the denseness of the wood, the way in which the grain moves in the wood is the same. The pores in the wood is the same. The tonal aspects as well, the way the guitar, the body resonates is the same as mahogany. So they call it mahogany. Then there's the coatings. All Epiphone coatings are going to be a polyester, where Gibson is going to give you nitro. Then there's the hardware. Epiphone has these locking bridges where the stop piece and the bridge stay in place when you take off all the strings when you're servicing the guitar. Apparently, they say it adds 20% more sustain as well. It is cheap cast pot metal. Now, apparently, Gibsons now are made of cheap cast pot metal as well. I have compared the two side by side, and Gibson's fit and finish is far above Epiphone's, much heavier as well. And you get into the tuners. Now, lots of the higher end models in Epiphone, you get Grover tuners. What makes these Grover tuners different from the Gibson Grover tuners? Gibson gets 16:1 ratio tuners in the majority of their guitars. Epiphone gets 14:1 ratio tuners. The tuners that say Grover for Epiphone are outsourced from somebody else. They are not made by Grover, but they're of a decent enough quality where Grover is okay slapping their name on top of them. They're okay, they're not garbage. Then we get into the pickups. Like I said, you get in the higher models, you get an all-Nico humbucker pickup in the Epiphones. Now, these are made in the same fashion in the way the Gibson pickups are made. They're wound at the same type of copper, and they're wax potted and double vacuum sealed as well. Now, they are of pretty decent output too. and they sound quite sweet. They do they sound good. They're usually not a bad sounding pickup. They may lack just a tiny bit of oomph and snap that the Gibsons would have. I noticed because I run tube amps all the time. Someone with a solid state amp may not even notice that they're playing a different guitar other than a Gibson. One thing that you can do with the Epiphones is take out the cheap ceramic capacitors and switch those out, and you will change the tone of your guitar quickly and cheaply. Then there's the electronics in Epiphones. Now, most import guitar manufacturers are guilty of putting in these tiny guys, where Epiphone puts in full-size pots. Even they get their own Epiphone stamped pots made. Now, these are import pots. They're metric sized, usually made by Alpha. They have good pots. Jacks in them. Their jacks are stamped with Epiphone. Some of them have this feature in where you can tighten and loosen the nut on the outside of the guitar, and it doesn't spin the inside of the jack. It doesn't twist up your wires. And also they have a locking feature which locks in your jack something good, and it's nice and well and connected. Their three-way switches are of decent three-way switches. It's pretty much like a Switchcraft copy. It's still an import piece where it's metric sized and not up to the same standards as I would say a Switchcraft jack is, but it is far better than the blocked circuit type switches you get in other manufacturers. So there you go. There's the difference between Epiphones and Gibsons. I hope I have added a bunch that other people do not add. I'm sorry I do not have any Epiphones to actually listen to. I usually upgrade my guitars. Maybe I'll get that in the future. Please click the like button on the bottom, share, and subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks for watching.